Okay, so now after practicing substitution, we have one more step. What if in the system we don't have a solved equation? So, if you don't have a solved equation, you're just going to make one of them to become solved. So the easiest way to do it is look for a variable with no number that's in front of it. So that means when I'm looking at this system, this has a 2 in front of it, this has a 2 in front of it, this has a -4, this doesn't. So I'm going to not work with all of those that had numbers, and I'm going to focus on getting this one solved for x. So if I want to solve for x, x is going to stay here, and the -4y has to move to the other side. So if I'm moving -4y to the other side, it has to be the opposite. So this is where I'm going to add 4y over to the other side, and so that now my equation says x equals -1 plus 4y. So if you don't have a solved equation, you're just going to go ahead and solve one of them. From there on out, it's still the same. So I have this. I'm going to substitute it in for the x because it says x equals. So now my new equation says 2, and then I replaced the x with -1 plus 4y plus 2y equaling 3. I'm going to go ahead and distribute. So I have -2 plus 8y plus 2y equals 3. Combine my like terms, so -2 plus 10y. Add 2 over, so 10y equaling 5, and divide by 10 so I get a half. Remember, we don't stop there. We have to have 2 coordinates. So I plug it back in. Easiest one is to go back to the box. So I'm going to do -1 plus 4 and now replace my y with my new number. So I'm going to take half of 4, which is 2, and add on -1. So for my final answer, I write 1.5. Let's take another look. Here's another system. We are looking for an equation that we can solve for x or y because clearly neither one is. Neither one starts with x equals or y equals. Now I have 2 options here because both of these have no numbers in front of it. So you can choose which one you want to do. I just chose to use the bottom one. Okay? So if I solved the bottom one for 5, I would want to move this -5x over. So I'm going to do the opposite and add 5x. So my new equation is y equals 6 plus 5x. Now I'm going to substitute that 6 plus 5x into my other equation, and it has to go in for the y since it says y equals. So my new equation says 2x plus, I wrote in my invisible 1, and then 6x plus 5x equaling -15. Go ahead and distribute that 1 and notice it doesn't change anything. Combine my x's so I have 7x now. Move over that 6 by subtracting, so that means we have 7x equaling -21, and then divide by 7 so x is -3. Remember, we don't stop there, we have to plug it back in. So I go back to the one with the box around it, and I'm going to multiply. So I put -3 in the x spot, so now I have 5 times -3, which is -15, and I'm going to add 6 to it, so I get -9. So for my final answer, I'm going to write -3, -9. Pause the video and try the last question. On the last system, I only have one option to solve for. So I want to solve for this for y. So I'm going to take this 6x and I'm going to move it over by doing the opposite operation. So that means I'm going to minus 6x to the other side. So my new equation says y equals 26 minus 6x. Now I'm going to substitute that 26 minus 6x into my top equation. So now it says 5x minus 2 and then 26 minus 6x in parentheses equaling -1. We have to distribute a -2, so watch your signs here. This should say -52 and this should become a positive 12x, so watch your signs. Now when I combine my x's, make sure you have 17x, and then I'm going to move the -52 over by adding 52. Then I'm going to divide by 17 and I get my x equaling 3. To finish, I want to plug it back in. So as long as I go into an x spot, it doesn't matter which equation, but I'm going to go back to the one with the box. So now I'm going to replace the x with 3, and I'm going to multiply first, so I get 26 minus 18, and then I'm going to subtract so I get 8. So final answer as an ordered pair is 3, 8. So substitution, again, has a lot of steps to it, a lot of details. Just slow down and make sure you get all of your negatives in the right spots.